Hi, I'm Yanga from 5 Lunch.
Hi, I'm Palesa from 5 Weekend Breakfast.
Hi, I'm Thabo from 5.
Hi, I'm Nadia from 5 Drive.
I'm sorry, can you start again? Sorry. I'm so sorry.
I can't do no small talk, no small talk. I'm not with the small talk. Can't be with the small talk.
Hi, I'm Yanga from 5 Lunch.
Hi, I'm Palesa from 5 Weekend Breakfast.
Hi, I'm Thabo from 5 Breakfast.
Hi, I'm Nadia from 5 Drive.
And we're the news team. 5FM's news team.
Yeah.
How did that happen though?
What, like getting to 5FM?
Yeah.
Well, I worked at Val, Voice of Vids, and the programming manager there was like, they're looking for a newsreader at 5FM, and I sent them all your stuff. And I was like, thank you, Jesus.
That is so cool.
Right?
That
Wow.
someone actually told you
Exactly.
and sent your stuff for you.
But I think that's what campus and commercial radio is supposed to do.
Yeah.
You know, like put me on.
Yeah.
Because you have all the connections. I don't. I'm just here volunteering my time. So do the most with my talent.
So you were doing news there already?
Yeah. Writing, compiling, reporting, field reporting, the works. Oh my gosh, it was so much work.
Yeah. It is a lot of work.
Yeah.
So with me, I mean, I'd done more commercial radio for a couple of years. And then with my previous employer, I decided, okay, I'd been there for 2 years. And it was a youth station, and I'd done as much journalism as I could there. So I felt like, okay, there's no room for growth really here. There's nothing here I can learn. So I just decided, okay, let me just send my stuff out one more time. And yeah, then I met... What happened? Oh, yeah, okay, then thank goodness for Truecaller. Because I generally ignore people's calls. Wow. So then I see a call, and it's somebody called Mike Bossinger. I'm like, who is Mike Bossinger? And then I answer the phone. It sounds like a fancy name that could be an executive at CNN.
Boss.
So so I answer, and he says, hi, my name is Mike. I'm from 5FM, and I see you send me your demo. We have this conversation for about like 10 minutes. I'm trying not to get too excited, right? So then my roommate comes in, and I tell him, I'm like, well, somebody from 5FM called me. Do you think it's a good sign? And he says, well, I don't know, but the fact that they called you is a good sign. Eventually, I have lunch with Mike Bossinger and our station manager at the time, JD, and they just grilled me. It was like an interrogation. What do you like about 5FM? You've got a nice job at a nice radio station. Why would you want to come here? And at that point, when I left, by the way, I didn't even pay for my coffee. When I left, it only dawned on me.
Oh no.
When I was en route. Wait a minute! I didn't pay for my coffee.
Embarrassing.
It was so embarrassing. I get to my employer, the radio station I was working for at the time, and I'm like, guys, I just had this chat, and I don't even tell them that I'm talking to another radio station. You don't do that. But I just say, well, do you think it's bad? It's a bad impression if you have a meeting with big bosses and you forget to pay for your coffee? And they go, yeah, it probably didn't go very well. And then it was only when I got the third call telling me, actually, okay, welcome. We have to meet the team, and we'll meet for like a breakfast. And that was that. When I knew that, okay, it's finally happening. But trust me, it was a bit of a bumpy road. And I remember getting there, and I was so nervous in a way that I've never been nervous before, because I sweat when I get nervous. Like it's like Victoria Falls. It's terrible. And yeah, the rest is history, and it's been a fun 2 years.
Did they write in the email, please pay for your breakfast?
No. And you know what? Can I tell you something? Because I actually learned that we actually do, when we go for breakfast, you pay for your own breakfast, you know? So I kept on thinking, okay, so surely they probably think back to that moment when I met with them and I didn't pay for my coffee. But every now and then, I feel like bringing it up, but then might be a bit of an awkward conversation 2 years in,
I don't think they remember at this point.
Yeah.
So I studied journalism at Tux. So while I was there, I got into the radio station Tux FM, which was absolutely life-changing. I loved it so much. But when my time there, I decided to no, not when my time there ended. I got a job at a TV as a TV reporter. So I did that for a while after leaving Tux FM. And while I was there, I had entered the radio awards from the year that I had been at Tux FM. And one of the judges was the program manager here at 5FM, Tim Zankel. And he had heard my news. He was looking for a new news presenter, and he contacted Tux FM and he was like, hey guys, do you have anybody that would be interested? And they knew that I was a huge fan of 5FM. I listened to it all the time. So even though I'd already left and I was doing another job, they were like, they put my name forward. So then Tim got in contact with me, and
The rest
now
is
I'm
history.
here.
Wow.
That is
Yeah.
so cool. Even after you left. That's really
Yeah,
cool.
no, I'm so grateful. Yeah, changed my life forever. And I tried to do both of the other jobs for a while, but it just didn't work out. But like, yeah, I'm so happy. It's been a long time now, 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
Incredible.
That's a milestone.
yeah.
Well, I
Yanga.
got kind of like just like into radio in a sense, like accidentally, but I wanted to. So I was like in Nelspruit at the time, and there's like a station called Rise FM. So like Thabo used to work there. I
Yeah.
realized I didn't even know until
7
someone
months.
told me. Yeah, when I was like, what are you doing in Nelspruit? But I was at Spa one day. Some guy was just eavesdropping on my phone conversation. He was like, oh, you should get into radio. And I was like, okay. And then he gave me a contact, and then, okay, cool. I emailed. Eventually they were like, okay, you should like become an intern and stuff. So I wasn't doing news. I was producing the current affairs show and the finance show. Me, imagine, like I was doing the finance show. Like I was coming up with topics like, what are we gonna do about the G? I don't even know. Like I'd go home and Google things like, what's
Repo rate.
I don't know.
What is the
Who
report?
knows about the stuff? Because we need to interview someone tomorrow about it. But as soon as I guess it seemed like, oh yeah, Yanga seems like she's able to do both these jobs, and I was driving disc for these producers, they were like, oh, maybe you should start compiling news. And I was like, I don't mind compiling. That's cool. So then, like you mentioned earlier, Jacaranda FM's news and stuff. And I was like, yes, I would use that to compile my news. I'd be like, I only like use certain like news publications. People would send me tips and I'd be like, look, I'm not field reporting. That was never my, that was like, I was like, look, I'll read. I'm here for it. I'll compile. It's kind of where I draw the line. I can't, I don't want to like, I don't want to be out there in like, the
Under the sun.
action,
It's
you know.
hectic.
Yeah, you'll watch CNN and they'll be like, "What ouch?" Boof, and that's not for me. I like the safety of like the booth, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I was just compiling, and then the news editor at the time was my boss was like, oh, "Okay, you know, I want to just train you on how to read, just to train you." And I was like, cool. And then eventually, somehow I became the weekend newsreader. And then one day they were like, oh, we want to put you during the week. So here's a contract. You're no longer an intern. And I was like, yay. Cool. And I worked for 1 month. And then I got called by JD. And then literally 1 month. And then I was here. So in the space of me starting reading in like the October, the next year in April I was here.
Yeah.
At 5
amazing.
FM. Yeah, within like 6 months. That was crazy. And it was like wildly scary because you get you and everyone's like, we know what we're doing. And I had no idea. I was just like, okay, like I just know that like, you know, I can read. I've got the force and stuff. And I mean, I'll be honest, that's kind of how I started to have like a respect for journalism and news. If that makes sense. Because I mean, you're reading, but while you're reading, you're actually taking that information in, and it just opens your eyes a bit. Like I like being nonchalant and just like I don't like knowing what's happening in the world. News kind of made me think, okay, I kind of need to care. That's wild. Like they're just stories. They've happened, and I think about them still today. Like that I've read about. Like it's in the past, and it's about like a specific certain person. But it's just, I don't know. Just makes you think about humanity and stuff.
And you don't forget those names. Hey, it's
don't.
really hard to
Yeah.
forget those names. Some stories are too sad.
Yeah, I feel like I disassociate sometimes because like I'm a very emotional person. So sometimes like when I'm reading a really hectic story, I'm just like, okay, don't cry, just read. So that's it doesn't get too emotional.
Yeah, I remember, I mean, I've always loved watching the news, and I have this idea of how news anchors are supposed to be, you know, stiff upper lip, you know, formal, very serious, unemotive. And then I remember the day, I guess, the news had there was a sense of humanity in the news. It was, I'm not sure if any of you remember this. I was probably in grade 10. Remember when there was the Haiti disaster?
Yes.
I was in grade 10, and Anderson Cooper from CNN, he was reporting live from there. And up until that moment, I'd had this idea of what news anchors are supposed to be like and news reporters. And he was reporting live from there. And in the background, he was literally doing reporting. And in the background, you could see people pulling, like rescue workers pulling people from the rubble. And there were instances where he would literally pause his reporting just so he can help. And I'd never seen anything like that before. Just the humanity. He forgot that, listen, I'm not just reporting, but this is a real story that has affected so many lives. I think it changed how I looked at journalism, because there is a very raw emotive aspect to it. It's not just news reporting, it affects so many people's lives.
Yeah. But a lot of the time, it does sound like it's emotionless. And that's what scares me. Even the way they write and compile the news, when they're like, at least 74 people died. I'm just like, not at least.
I was going to say, that's why, like, I have moments where, like, I'm editing and I have to think about some of the training I got, where it'll be like, at least, like you said, 900 people died. And I'll be like, I'm going to ask if I can change at least to close to or nearly, just because it sounds more humane, if that makes sense. You'll read stories where it's like, blah, blah, blah is dead.
Yeah.
Or blah, blah, blah has died. And you're like, you're like,
it's so
can
harsh.
I change it to passed away?
Yeah.
And they're like, it's not your friend.
No, it's
and
not
you're
your
like,
friend.
okay, cool. It's just, I'm going to be out there going, your top story, he's dead.
He's dead.
5 News, I'm younger.
It's the same thing. It's also okay to change it sometimes.
Yeah. Sure, it's so scary. Because even now, we're putting together clips for the awards, right?
Yeah.
So I'm listening to my news bulletins and I'm like, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi died. I'm like, was that me? I just say that because that sounds so harsh. I can't believe it.
And especially when you look at the nature of all of our shows, it's not just serious stuff. We laugh and we have fun. Can you imagine so-and-so died, by the way?
Imagine.
It just sounds just...
Like, I was going to say, I remember there was like a time I was standing in for like 3 people, but it was like I stood in on the whole weekend, right? So I stood in morning and in the afternoon. This is Saturday and Sunday. And then it was Monday, so I had to stand in on breakfast. And then I was on lunch.
Your show,
and I think I stood in on drive. Like, there was a day and people making jokes with like, oh, it's Yanga FM and stuff. And I remember I did that. And after that show, like, I asked for leave. And I only asked for leave because I was like, yeah, I feel depressed a bit. And I only felt depressed because I was like, I'm waking up and sleeping to news. Like, and there was a specific story that was in circulation. And it was about that young boy who was like killed for stealing a mango in the Western Cape from a tree. That story made me cry. Like, I read it, and after I read it, I cried. And I had to keep reading it. Yeah. And then I think by 6 p.m. I was like, I can't read that anymore. It's so sad. That little boy died for a mango. And then it makes you think of like your childhood where you're like, I used to pick fruits from random people's trees.
Innocently.
Yeah, innocently. And you're like, damn, someone died for that. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. But that's also why, like, it's important to, I don't know, like, I used to tune the team if they were, like, making me laugh, because I love laughing, obviously. But sometimes you are reading about, like, a death, and then they're busy laughing in the background, and you obviously can't be so separated from your news that you also are laughing. And you're not laughing at that, but it's going to sound like you are. And that's really bad.
Oh, my goodness. It's like I experience that so often, and I'm actually surprised I haven't been fired, because we joke around a lot, and I'm very ticklish. I'm very, very ticklish. So it gets to a point where I have to think about something very horrific. I'm never going to tell you what I think about, okay? I have to think about something very horrific to kill that sense of laughter so that I can be serious. And it's been working. It's been working for now, but it's very, very difficult because you're supposed to be the formal one. Like, it's easier if you're like, traffic, sports, you can giggle, oh, Orlando Pirates scores. I'm sorry, but but if there's a bombing in, Afghanistan or, like a Harvey Weinstein Me Too story, especially now, we're very, very sensitive to certain topics. you can't laugh, and that makes it so difficult.
Yeah.
The only way I would survive is if we were all in a very serious team where there's not much camaraderie and you read your bulletin and you go home. But
Almost like if you don't even like care about each other, if I could put it
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you make mistakes. Like I think with my teams, like specifically, because we're friends and we're rascals. I always say this. Like I'll be reading a story and I'm being dead serious, but because we make like jokes around like pronunciation of words sometimes. Like sometimes I'm reading and I'm reading the bulletin in my head before it's time. Now we're like on air and I'll be like, and massive crash claims, and I'm realizing I said crash. I didn't say crash.
Not crash, babes.
And I'll be like, crash claims 11 lives. And it's like, and now I'm about to get into the story. And then this is the thing. I'm looking at them. They're looking at me and they're like, and I'm like, this is not work. This is terrible.
not working.
I've said this one time, I've said Ishkom by accident. Like, where I was like, and Ishkom and Ishkom
No.
announces Level Stage. The full hour was just people going, yeah, Ishkom, hey, Ishkom. That was it. Like, no,
kind
the
of
WhatsApp
appropriate.
line, yes, the WhatsApp
Yeah.
line everywhere. No one let it go. And I was like, okay, cool. That's fine. At least we're laughing. It's better than if it was like, people have been murdered. Murdered.
Not murdered.
Now it's awkward.
Yeah.
Like, it's nice when those mistakes happen and it's light. It's
Yeah.
something light. It's not like anything really heavy.
Nadia, are you? Because I remember I filled in for Drive once and you were reading a story. It was a very serious story. Okay, I'm not even going to tell you what the story was. And the voice was distorted and it was a very squeaky voice. And the voice was like, do you remember that? Yeah. And I just started laughing. Fortunately, I was doing traffic and I was just cry laughing in the background. But you were able to really keep a straight face. I don't know how the hell you did that. That is a superpower.
No, I don't know either. You just get used to it, I guess. But like, it's it was really funny because sometimes, I mean, we obviously don't compile our own news because the SABC has their own compilers and we get the bulletin sometimes right before we have to
I
read
hate
it.
when that happens. Like, oh
Right
my
before
gosh.
you might be reading, and as you're reading, you're seeing
They just
something
change
like
it.
come in, and you're
Yeah,
like,
it
what's
changes
that?
while it's so stressful. But I think with that instance, like also it's the same with the sound bites. Obviously you didn't manage to hear it beforehand, but played it, and that also took me by surprise.
Yeah.
I just try to like have my laugh while the sound bite is playing, and then just like compose myself and continue.
Yeah.
But sometimes it is really funny.
It's so much easier when it's happening in the soundbite. I've had it happen at the end. Like, it was about a murder trial or something, and they were trying to figure out if if this guy's the suspect. And the advocate is like, you said this guy was wearing a hat. My client says he does not wear hats. And then they asked the client, so you don't wear hats? And he was like, no, I wear a cap. Or something. So then the judge was like, so you do wear a hat. Right? And that's how it ended. So you do wear a hat. So
great.
as soon as that ended, I remember looking at everyone and I was like,
Yeah.
and I had to pause. And it was a good 6-second pause where I was like, because I was like, I have to find something. Like you said, horrific and terrible. This is hilarious.
It's like this weekend, there was a clip that played and John Steenhuisen said Dololo. And I'm like,
Now after that you go,
now you have to move swiftly along. I'm like, not Dololo, bro. Not Dololo. But if you guys weren't doing this job, what would you do? Like, what would you like to do? Your dream job?
This is my dream job.
Really?
Yeah, like I said before, I was a huge fan of 5FM even.
Yeah.
So literally here is where I wanted to be, and I am there. So I'm very happy.
I would say this is also like my dream job. It's so weird. I put this in a journal when I was like 6, like where I was like, I want to go to France and 5FM and like a bunch of things. And I found that journal and I was ticking it off. I was like, oh my gosh, you've been to France. And I was like, oh, you work at 5FM. Like it was so
gosh,
cool.
yeah.
But aside from this, one of my biggest dreams at some point was to be a plastic surgeon.
Wow.
That was because of Dr. 90210, the show.
Oh,
Okay.
Dr. Ray.
Yeah.
Wow.
I just thought it was, I think it's so nice to see people have a positive impact on people's lives.
Yeah.
Like I always say to people, I love nice people and I like when people are nice or kind. Like it makes me so happy. So when people are like, hi, how are you? Would you like a grape? I'm like, yes. I could be allergic, but I'd be like,
I'm so grateful.
I'm so grateful. Like, I like nice people. So when people have like a nice impact or positive impact on people's lives, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I thought like a plastic surgeon in my head. I was like, yeah, I'd love that. Because I mean, dentists, they live. So dentists do dentist things.
Yeah.
But like plastic surgeons do a lot. Like you could be born with a certain affliction, for instance. And that could have affected you growing up. And you just would like a different future for yourself. And a lot of those episodes made me think, oh, this would be such a cool job. Like, I'd love to have this impact on people where they're like, it's been 6 weeks since the surgery. And these people are walking around the pool and they're like, show us your belly button, Kate. And she's like,
You're like, I did that.
I gave Kate that belly button.
yes.
Well, for me, I mean, it's also kind of a dream job of mine. But I remember growing up, especially as a teenager, when you're a teenager, you're kind of in your own head. You live in your head. And you always navigate life like your life is a teen drama. And everything is being journaled. That's what I did. There was a lot of internal monologuing in my head as a teenager. And I remember thinking, okay, if I either end up on TV or the radio, or whether it's on the news or doing SNL. I wanted to be on Saturday Night Live. I wanted to write for the New York Times. I wanted to be a writer on a sitcom. I had a lot of things that I wanted to do, and I just knew that, okay, I'll end up doing one of these. And now it's been, 10 years on the radio, or 8 being paid for it, thank goodness. Yeah, but I always knew I wanted to do something like this. Yeah.
With me, I studied biotechnology. Now I'm reading news. But that's still not what I would do outside of this. I love my job. But I don't know. Being a housewife is the dream.
It really does.
It really is the dream. Have a successful business. Raise your kids. I think that's the ultimate dream. And now I'm getting into like event planning. And that's like giving me so much peace, like seeing people happy, enjoying themselves. I don't know. I like that.
Wow.
That's cool.
Wait. Housewife. Let's go back. Wait. Housewife.
Yeah.
Well, but you do need the right husband for that, though.
Sure.
Right. And
I'm not doing so great in that department.
yeah. Read those
That's what you
bulletins, girl.
You're such a problem.
Read those bullets.
Actually, maybe go back to the biochemistry.
Yeah. That you are actually really smart.
I am really smart, not I was.
No, yes, sorry. I'm sorry. You
Thank
are
you.
really
Thank
smart. Okay. Do you guys have any like interviews that stand out, or people that you've had on your show that you go back and you think, actually, if I were to do a reel or write a book, that would be in there?
Sure. My first day here, we interviewed a professional cuddler.
Yes.
So we have this feature called Career Crazy with all the crazy careers, and this lady is literally like, she's a professional cuddler. So you call her, I need your services. She comes over your house and she cuddles you.
Oh.
Yeah.
What are her rates?
I don't know.
Do you need that?
I'm just curious how much. Okay.
No, I'll give you the number. Don't worry. I got you. And she had to cuddle me on the floor in studio. There's literally a video on TikTok and Instagram of this lady cuddling me on the floor. That was my first day at 5FM.
Did that like make you uncomfortable, or was it something like, okay, I can get used to this?
Whew. I don't know. I don't think it made me uncomfortable. It was just like, what's gonna happen? Like, Nick, during my course here, is this gonna happen like every weekend? Am I gonna be on the floor every Saturday and Sunday? Like, it made me nervous for the future. Let me put it that way. But I'm let's do it. Let's do whatever. Jump off a building, whatever. Let's do it. Yeah, I'm that type of girl.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So there was this interview that like I had set up that was for the show, right? Mm-hmm. And even when I set it up, I was just like, oh my word, yeah, this cool person is like a comedian, And his name is Titi, right? So he was actually at the Mini roast. Yeah, so he was one of the comedians that like opened the show up. So when I met him, it was still like early days in comedy, which I'm still in early days in comedy. Sorry, I have to make that clear. So it was like those early days of comedy. And he was like, no, you need to come to this comedy room and do these things and come perform here. And I'd do that. And one day I was like to him, we should definitely like interview you, right? So in my mind, I'm like, yeah, because we're like friends. We did the interview and we're talking to him about his accomplishments and his achievements. And it hit me. I was like, you are really like accomplished, like, and proper famous, like, and you're a big deal. And in that moment, I was just like, I didn't even, when I set this up, I was like, I didn't even know. I was just thinking like, oh my word, it'd be awesome to have you on the show.
Yeah.
And then when we were listening and he was being amazing and he was making all these jokes and he was telling us about his journey, I was like, oh my gosh, comedy is actually quite deep. Like, so that interview stuck out for me, just for me, and like the journey for comedy, where I was like, you've been doing this for how long? And you've done what? And you've met who? It's crazy.
I'm gonna give you two. So the one, I'm actually a very super deep person, and I love deep stories. And one of them, because I've moved very much into the entertainment space in terms of what to watch, my film feature, and doing interviews for that. There was a documentary called I Am Here, which was about an Auschwitz survivor who lives in South Africa, and she was, I think, 100 at the time when I interviewed her. She's now 102. She's still going strong.
Sure.
And her story just like, it made me bawl. But she was so energetic and funky and positive, and she loves South Africa. And I was just like, this woman is like someone everybody needs to hear from, because she's just such an inspiration. So she was my absolute favorite one ever. And then the other one is Henry Cavill, because it was very cool.
wow.
And it was in person in London, and it just like blew my mind. I don't think I'll ever get an opportunity like that again, but it was so cool. And he was so humble and so kind and just as good looking. Just gonna add that in there.
Wow, not even Superman.
Oh.
Yeah.
Literally.
I almost asked him out, and then I was like, people are watching. Get out, Nadia. Go for a walk.
Yeah. For me, it was Reverend Al Sharpton, the iconic civil rights leader. Whoa. And I was working for Rise FM, a very small regional radio station. And Donald Trump had just won the elections. And my editor at the time said, well, Thabo, you can do what you want with the elections, any kind of reaction. And she showed me how to make international calls. You best believe I took advantage of that. I called the Washington Post,
Oh my gosh.
the New York Post, New York Times, everybody, just having like big fat conversations. And then eventually, but obviously now I have to, this is for work. So I eventually get in touch with an organization that Reverend Al Sharpton runs. And I have the interview with him. And this is when now Trump has been elected. And we talk about, what it was like with the civil rights movement and what it means for America now, because it's unfortunately, it's a full circle moment, but not in a positive way at all, because now this is a man who has endorsed so many things. But anyway, that's a story for another day. But it just showed me how just about anything is possible. I remember like years before, my grandfather was watching an interview with Reverend Al Sharpton, and he was talking about civil rights and the important work that he does, even in South Africa. And now I realize, wait a minute, I'm having a conversation with him, this global icon whom the likes of like Michael Jackson and Beyonce, all these people look up to, and I'm talking to him. So that's something I'll always remember. He was very impatient with me, but yeah. Anyway, he was like, I was like, Reverend, I want to ask you so much. He goes, no, we can't do that because I gotta go back to my studio. I gotta do my radio show. Best 7 minutes of my life.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really nice.
Who was the worst?
Oh, I know. I'll tell you off air.
I don't even know.
I want to tell you the name off air, but I'm going to tell you the story.
Okay.
So we interviewed someone, right? And then they were there, we're interviewing them on the show. And it was a big deal. We were excited because it's like we're excited to meet this person. They're pretty big in the country. And we were there like to promote something for the person in a sense, because something had happened. They were a part of something. I'm being so vague. They were a part of something that was trending and number one. So we were like, oh yeah, we should definitely speak to this person. And we spoke to the person. The person started trashing the SAPC
Yo.
on the show. We are there like, We can't even be like, stop it, shut up. We can't do that. It's live. Yeah, get out. We can't. We're like, oh, yeah, we're just trying to, lightly speak over this person. Like, oh, no. Yeah, well, it doesn't matter because I'm out of here. I've made it. We were like, why are you doing this to us? You're going to get us fired.
That is crazy.
And then at some point she was like, I'm going to start swearing. She's swearing on air.
On 5FM.
Yes. We were traumatized. So now we're like, okay, guys, stay tuned. We're going to finish this up. Now there's some music. We are off air. We're like, thanks so much for coming.
It's time to go.
Yeah, we've ran out of time. And we had not ran out of time. We were just like,
We can't do this.
Can't risk our jobs.
Yeah.
So she's leaving. As she's leaving, we now, because this was chaotic, check our phones. We all have like 10 missed calls from the bosses upstairs. And we're like, we're screwed. And we sat there in a meeting where we had to like explain ourselves, but we couldn't be like,
What are you going to say?
You can't control what comes out of the person's mouth.
We didn't know that the person was going to come here with beef and start going, I hate this place and good riddance, I'm done with you. And we were like, well, we didn't know that's what you came to do. That was intense.
I am shocked.
Yeah.
Okay, on that note.
Yeah, I don't know if I have such a hectic one. Maybe just like, I did like a phone interview with somebody who was in a documentary that had been made about them, but it was more like a lifestyle one. I'm also going to be vague. And I was like really excited. I thought it was cool because it was local and, positive South African vibes. And the person just getting on the call initially was like, ugh, like fine, like whatever, are we going to start now or whatever. It was just such a mission to organize. Then when it started, it was very awkward. And then at the end, when we'd said goodbye, they thought I had put down, but they started like talking and they were like, ugh, the blah, 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 interview. And I was like,
Yo.
and then I just put it down and I was like,
What a butt.
okay, cool. I'm never, ever interviewing that person again.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hectic. That's scary.
Okay, so we had a very, very famous musician. Very famous.
Everyone's going to be vague.
Yeah. And this person was so boring. Yo, guys. From the moment they back announced and they introduced this person, my goodness. I remember just looking. I'd actually just gotten the phone and I was just looking at the time. Okay. Mali Traffic song, we're done. And this person, no personality whatsoever. And at the time, there was a bit of a scandal with this person in the papers. So we're like, maybe we should ask this person. Okay, so what happened here? Person goes, no, I ain't going to talk about that.
Okay.
Oh, well, I shouldn't have done the accent because it kind of gives it away. But so the person was like, no, I'm not going to talk about that. And then he leave. Oh, damn it. Can we cut this out?
I still don't know who you're talking about,
Okay.
if that helps.
Me too. I was gonna, like in my head, I'm like, is it Billy Ray Cyrus?
Yeah, let's say it's Billy Ray Cyrus.
Your accent.
Yo, guys, it was terrible. Boring, no personality. Was even, I don't want to say rude, but just so aloof and just distant. I mean, when you're here for it, I get it, maybe you're shy, but still, sometimes you have to be a little engaging, be a bit animated, because it is radio, And this guy, this person was just terrible. A drag. Worst interview ever. And an actor who came here drunk and smelled like a brewery.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I've actually stood in on a show where they were interviewing someone and the guest came in late. Shades. And the guest was just like, walked in, he was like, I haven't slept. I was like,
Take
Why
your
would
job
you really
seriously.
why would you tell us that? And like you said, now the room it's populated with smells.
With that smell.
And even on air, it's just like, all these questions, they're so deep. I was like, you can't actually want to sound hungover too. Like, this sounds terrible. Try a little.
Yeah.
If not for us, for yourself. Try for yourself and for your reputation.
I think with me, it wasn't the worst, but it was like a anticlimactic situation. So this lady comes onto the show. We talk to her. She's like, yeah, I've traveled to all these places, gathered all these flavors, because we talk about food. And then at the end, we like ask her about these places. And she's like, no, I didn't physically go to these places. I'm like,
Well, now it's awkward.
ma'am. She's like, yeah, spiritually. I'm like, man.
Okay.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. And then there was this guy. He came in late, one, because we had him and this girl. So he came in late and we're like, let's just not interview him. And then we're like, okay, no, let's put him for the game, which we do at the end. And then he bashes this girl who was on time and did exactly what she had to do. You bashing her, you couldn't even speak, you couldn't read, you were late.
My God.
But you still have the audacity to bash someone else. Yeah, those are my top two.
That's not nice.
That is not nice. Well, on that note, I think it's time we get out of here.
So we're good. For 5 news, we're 5 news.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Should I count us down?
Please.
Yes.
Oh, are we doing it? I thought everyone was gonna do it once, and then we're all gonna say who were for that. I don't know. How are we doing it?
No, for
Oh
five,
my gosh, this is so not planned.
For 5 news, we're
5
5 news.
news.
Right.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
For 5 news, we're 5 news.
This is 5 FM.